So hey guys, today we have Amin Ahmed and he's having 3 years and 7 months of experience in Java, Spring Boot and microservices domain. And those who want to give same mock interview, please fill out the form below in the description. So let's get started. Hey, hello Amin, how are you?
Hey, hi Faizan, I'm good. I hope you're also good.
Yeah. So shall we start?
Yes, sure,
Okay. Can you please introduce yourself and your recent project in brief?
sure. So, my name is Amin Ahmed, and
Uh-huh.
I have around 3.7 years of experience. My
Okay.
major tech stack is
Mm-hmm.
Java, Spring Boot, RESTful APIs, and microservices.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've worked in two companies. My first company was TCS,
Mm-hmm.
wherein I worked for a retail domain project.
Okay.
There, my responsibility was to develop RESTful APIs
Mm-hmm.
according to business requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And the solution that I developed was deployed on on-premise environment. And then I moved on to a second company, which is IBM. And
Mm-hmm.
currently, I'm working with that company, and I'm working with a travel and transportation domain project. And
Okay.
in this project, the responsibilities are similar. I'm developing solutions according to client requirements, and the solutions that I developed are being deployed on AWS. So we are
Okay.
leveraging AWS Lambda as a cloud provider.
Okay. What's the sprint structure?
So sprint structure is basic. We follow agile methodology, and there is
Okay.
incremental development that we do.
Uh-huh.
Sprint is basically 2 weeks of time,
Is
and
testing
then
included in this sprint?
so for testing, unit testing and integration testing, developers only do, and then we have a
Okay.
separate team for quality assurance. We have
Okay.
separate QA team. So QA, once we develop the feature and we do our own testing, then we
Mm-hmm.
transfer that feature to the QA.
Okay. And what's the deployment strategy?
So, since in our current project, it is heavy development phase. So,
Uh-huh.
deployment is done basically 2 times in a day, and it is not automatic currently because
Manually.
it is manually because a lot of features are going into
Mm-hmm.
the project.
Okay.
So, we usually have fixed 2 times in a day that we will deploy,
Okay.
and we do it
And
manually
what's
for now.
what's the branching strategy?
So branching strategy that we are following is similar. We have one master branch, or
Mm-hmm.
in our case, it is development branch,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can fork several other branches if we are working on some features, and then
So
we must.
let's say if new features come and so do you create a feature branch or something like that, or just use your user story, your changes branch and merge directly into the master?
Yeah, something like that. So we have our user stories, and then we
Mm-hmm.
create a feature branch from the master branch. And after we are done with the development, then we test whatever is there, and then
Right.
once that feature is completed, we give it for review. After review, it is merged back into that master
Okay.
branch.
What's the latest Spring Boot version which you are aware of?
I'm using 2.7 in our project.
2.7.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so tell me what are the advantages of using Spring Boot over traditional Spring framework? As we know, uh, previously we used to work on Spring framework only, not Spring Boot, right? Long time back. So, what Spring Boot did and what are the benefits of using Spring Boot over Spring framework?
Correct. So, first major benefit I would say, see, there are these two are similar things. Spring Boot is built on Spring only, but
Uh-huh.
one major thing is that there is a lot of boilerplate code that has
Hmm.
been reduced in Spring Boot. In Spring, we were used to, even for creating a bean, we used to write configurations in
Hmm.
XML file. But in Spring Boot, we can use annotations like add component or add bean for creating such beans. So one thing is it is very developer friendly as it has reduced a lot of boilerplate code. Second thing is we have to had to configure all the dependencies in Spring, but Spring Boot has the support of auto configuration in it. Third advantage I would say is that
Can we disable auto configuration?
yes, we can disable auto
Can we
configuration.
override auto configuration?
We can override auto
Okay.
configuration.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me what you were telling.
Yeah. So third advantage of
Mm-hmm.
Spring Boot that we have is we have the support of embedded servers like Tomcat, Jetty, and
Okay.
Undertow. But in Spring Framework, we had to manually configure the servers. And yeah, these are few advantages that Spring Boot has over Spring Framework.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so before moving ahead, I will like to share one important thing. Hey guys, if you are not able to crack your interviews, then you can check our interview preparation kit. It has helped thousands of candidates in cracking their interviews. In this, we give the job support and referrals as well. Basically, this kit has four parts. The first part is complete interview preparation material. This contains 16 documents step by step with practice quizzes where all the content is organized and available in one place. The second part is two real enterprise projects, one based in Sweden and the other in the USA. There will be video explanation, prototype source code, PDF documents, and quizzes for each project. If someone already has projects, and they can take this as a reference and prepare accordingly. The third part is 7 days of chat support for all your doubts on projects, preparation material, or any other guidance. The fourth part is job support and referrals for the deserving candidate. I have provided the link to get this below in the description. So now moving to our interview. So as we were discussing about Spring Boot, and you said something about auto configuration. So I just want to know how can we disable auto configuration and override, if you
Okay.
are aware on this.
So for there is a strategy where we can make use of exclude keyword inside enable auto configuration.
Okay,
So
so
if
why
there
do
is
we need to disable auto configuration? Can you tell me a scenario?
suppose I'm using a NoSQL database. I'm using MongoDB in my project,
Uh,
and there is data source application service,
uh,
some kind of class which is being auto configured by
uh,
Spring Boot. But
uh,
we are not making use of that data class because we are using making use of NoSQL database, and we have
mm-hmm,
our separate configuration class for that. So in that scenario, it can make the startup time of our project very large because
mm-hmm.
it will have to set up all those dependencies or configuration classes. So to
Okay.
make our application faster, we can disable no, the configuration classes that we are not using.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what about overriding auto configuration? Like, when do we need this?
Exact scenario I have not encountered, but
Okay.
yes, I know that we can override. But I'll look into it that what is the scenario and how we can override.
Yeah, okay, sure. Do you know about the role of conditional annotation in auto configuration?
Uh, at conditional annotation, I have heard, I have not
Mm-hmm.
used.
Okay.
Maybe I think it does configuration based on some conditions,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not too sure. I'll look into it.
Okay, okay. Okay, so tell me, how would you integrate any database, NoSQL or OSQL, in your Spring Boot application step by step from scratch?
Sure. So we have our normal Spring Boot starter project. We can
Mm-hmm.
make the project either from CLI or Spring Boot initializer, Spring initializer. So after while we create the project from Spring initializer, we can add dependencies. Suppose I'm using MySQL as the
Mm-hmm.
database, so I can add MySQL dependencies and the
Mm-hmm.
starter dependencies, all those things. So the
Mm-hmm.
first step would be to add the dependency of the database that we are using. In case of MySQL, we use
Mm-hmm.
MySQL connector J, and then we make entity classes. So suppose I
Okay.
have employee class.
Mm-hmm.
So I will make entity employee class, and inside employee entity class, I'll give fields like ID, and it will
Mm-hmm.
have at ID annotation on it, and first name, last name, email address, phone number, all those related fields.
Mm-hmm.
There can be a condition that the class name and the corresponding table in the database may have different names. For
Mm-hmm.
that, we can make use of at table annotation, and inside that, we can give the
Mm-hmm.
name of the table. Similarly,
Mm-hmm.
for columns also. And then for queries, we can make use of repository. So we will make employee
Okay.
repository, which will be extending JPA
Mm-hmm.
repository. And then yes, we can make a service class
Have
and
you written custom queries?
Yes, I have written custom queries.
Okay, so do you know how can we optimize custom queries?
Uh, Basically custom queries, there can be several ways. There are named queries and native queries. So
Uh-huh.
in repository layer, we can provide a query using at query annotation, and we can
Okay.
give the method name.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding optimizing the query, not much worked into that, but I know that uh, like I'm filtering a record based on two conditions, like
Mm-hmm.
name and salary. So
Mm-hmm.
I suppose there are 1,000 records in the database,
Mm-hmm.
and two conditions are that last name is something and salary is greater than 50,000. And so I know, if I know that from beforehand that uh, for 1,000 rows in the database, almost 700 rows are not having salary more than
Mm-hmm.
50,000. So I'll give a salary condition first and last name condition afterwards, so
Mm-hmm.
that more number of rows are filtered with the first condition, and then after that, with the remaining rows, I can search for last name. So this is one thing, but I'll look
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it.
fine. Okay, so moving ahead, what are Spring Boot starters and how do they work?
So Spring Boot starters are basic starter dependencies that
Mm-hmm.
we configure in our project. So we have Spring Boot starter, web, starter test,
Mm-hmm.
starter actuator. It provides us with the dependencies to start a Spring Boot project.
Okay.
And how do they work? Since we add the starter dependencies, so at runtime, I think all the when we start the Spring Boot application, those
All the
all
related stuff.
dependencies are picked from the class path and auto
Mm.
configured. So this is how
Okay.
this works.
Okay. And what about Spring Boot starter parent?
Spring Boot starter parent is, I think, the parent of all dependencies which is needed to start the Spring Boot project. It has the configuration for servers also. So we have support for Tomcat and Jetty. So it comes
Mm-hmm.
from Spring Boot starter parent only.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me some ways to secure a Spring Boot application?
Okay, so there are ways like JWT and
Okay.
authentication and authorization.
Okay.
So
What's the
this
difference between authentication and authorization?
I'll explain in a very layman term. So
Uh-huh.
suppose you and me both belong to the same company, and when
Mm-hmm.
we will enter into that company, so we both will show ID card. So since we both are employees of that company, we both will be allowed to enter. So this process is known as authentication.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we enter into the company, you have an admin role, but I have a normal user role. So you will be able to go inside the admin room, but I would not be able to go inside. So authorization is this scenario is known as authorization. So authentication basically identifies who is the user, and authorization identifies what a particular user can perform.
Mm. Okay. Have you heard about method level security?
Yes, I have heard about method level security. So there can be some methods inside service, like we have some delete functionality inside service class, and
Mm-hmm.
all roles should not be allowed to perform that delete operation, only admin roles. So for that, I think we can use at pre-authorize annotation and
Mm-hmm.
define roles, what all roles can perform. I think there is one more annotation, at secured annotation. So
Mm-hmm.
these using these two annotations, we can define what
Mm.
roles can perform that particular method operation.
Okay. Can you name some important annotations for writing JUnit test cases?
So at Mockito, at Spring Boot test, at test, and at mock bean also we can use. These are some annotations.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Uh, what is this Spring Boot test annotation?
So basically, at Spring Boot test annotation is similar like at Spring Boot application. So it
Mm-hmm.
defines that this class is used for testing purposes. So
Okay.
above the class we can use at Spring Boot test, And above the method, we can use at test annotation to define that this is a test method which is testing a particular method.
Okay. Okay, so like we know we do some configuration, right? So do you know the order of precedence in Spring Boot configuration?
Order of precedence in Spring Boot configuration. I mean,
Like
this,
there are some ways where we can do some configuration. For example, command through environment variables, external configuration file like YAML or properties, command line arguments.
yeah. So I'm not actually aware of
Okay,
it, but
okay.
I'll try to look into it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How can we use profiles? Are you aware on this?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
profiling is very commonly used
Mm-hmm.
scenario in development. So, since we all know that we develop, so there are several environments. One is
Mm-hmm.
development, one is QA, and one is
Mm-hmm.
prod. There can be a staging environment in between
Mm-hmm.
development and prod. So there can be several environments. So for some environments, some of the properties can be different. Like we usually use different databases for different environments. So to make this thing work, we use profiles. So we can have application hyphen dev dot properties. We can have application hyphen prod dot properties.
Mm-hmm.
So common properties we can place in application dot properties, and environment related properties we can place in application hyphen dev or hyphen prod. So
Mm-hmm.
so all those properties would be taken from that, and we can use at profile annotation also to uh, tell what particular profile is active.
Okay. Mm, okay. Moving ahead, why do we need static keyword?
So static keyword is basically used when we want to make anything related to class. So if it is used with method,
Mm-hmm.
so it makes the method belong to class. Like
Mm-hmm.
we can call that method with the class name. We don't need to create an object. If we use it with variable, that variable becomes a class level variable. So and that variable is initialized once also. So these are so static can be used with reference when we want to use with class.
Okay. Okay. Can a static block throw an exception?
Static block throw an exception. Uh, I think I'm not sure, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it can throw. I'll I'll, I'll
Yes,
try
it
to.
can.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah.
But we need to handle that exception within the same block.
Okay.
Yeah. Can we override static methods?
Yes, we can override. Override. No, no. Static methods cannot be overridden. They can be overloaded.
Okay.
Because static methods basically are class level methods. So suppose there is a scenario where we have a parent class and we have a child class. So in parent class we have a static method print, and
Mm-hmm.
in child class also we have a static method print. And when we will try to call, suppose we created an object
Mm-hmm.
with the parent class, but we gave it the reference of object child class, and then we are trying to call that static method. So the static method of parent class one only would be called. So this concept is known as method hiding concept. So we
Mm.
cannot override static, but we can overload static.
Okay. Okay, so let's say you are given a class with both static and non-static methods. Can you explain the execution flow when the class is loaded?
So the execution flow is at first static block is executed.
Mm-hmm.
After that, instance block is executed. After
Okay,
that, constructor is executed.
okay.
After that, static methods are executed, and at last, normal methods, non-static
Mm.
methods.
Okay. Okay. So, do you know about packages, right? We use packages in our project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what happen if two packages have the same class name?
It can have
Can have.
we have we it can have same class names. So we have list in java.lang or util also, and we have
Mm-hmm.
java.awt also. So it can have. There is no problem. Whichever
Okay,
we
okay,
want to use, we will have to import that from the correct package.
okay. Let's say if you have a complex project, so how would you structure your packages for maximum efficiency and maintainability?
Okay, so this kind of scenario we have faced. So, what exactly is happening is, so
Mm-hmm.
since application is belonging to travel and transportation,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a lot of common services, right? So, we group all those services and operations, and we have a lot of common model classes,
Mm-hmm.
what we say POJO classes. So, all those things we can have in a separate package. We can name it as common package, and then we can have it as a dependency. We can make it a jar also and add it as a dependency in our Spring Boot project, and then we can directly use it.
Yeah. Okay. Mm, can you uh, discuss or give a small definition on final keyword on
Okay.
brief, very brief?
Yeah. So final keyword, briefly, I would say if used with the variable, it makes the value of that variable constant. It cannot be changed. If it is used with the method, we cannot override that method. If it is used with class, we cannot perform inheritance of that class.
Okay. Okay. So, can we modify a final object reference?
Final object reference.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, what happens is, so objects in Java are a tricky thing. So suppose I have created an object
Mm-hmm.
employee, E is equal to new employee object, and we have made it as final.
Mm-hmm.
So if we will try to change the reference, reference would not, we will not be able to change. However, inside employee, there is name, phone number. Using that reference, if we want to change name, phone number, that we can do, but reference we cannot change.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. So, how does Java resolve a call to an overloaded method?
Uh, Overloaded method have different number of arguments or different type of arguments. So
Mm-hmm.
based on that, the compiler decides like which particular overloaded
Mm-hmm.
method is being called. Suppose I have add method. In first add method, we have two parameters, int a and int b, and then we
Okay.
have another overloaded add method, int a comma int b comma int c.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we'll give two arguments to that method, then compiler will know that this particular method is it should be called. If we'll give three, so basically on the type of arguments or on the number of arguments, compiler can decide.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how you guys are I mean doing exception handling in your project?
So we are making use of custom exceptions and
Custom exceptions.
global and also global
Can you
exception
give
handling.
a name of few custom exceptions that you have already created?
So there is user not found, and there is
Okay.
ID not found,
Okay.
and input not correct, these type of
So
exceptions.
can you tell me a scenario where custom exceptions would be a better solution than built-in ones?
So see, it really depends on the scenario. So suppose I'm working on a
Mm-hmm.
product application, and the user input that we are
Mm-hmm.
getting from the client side, it contains five fields, but out of those five fields, only four fields are present, and it is
Mm-hmm.
a custom field like email is missing or phone number is missing. So
Okay.
we can make one custom exception according to that scenario that this particular parameter is missing. So these are common scenarios where custom exceptions are really beneficial.
Okay. Have you heard about Java generics?
Yes, I have heard you.
Okay.
So generics is a type of methodology in which we can make methods or classes. Mm, implement a functionality in a general way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, Common examples are array list, set, stack. So uh, the functionality is that it is common to different data types. So as a data type, I can give either string. We cannot use primitive types,
Mm-hmm.
but we can use wrapper types or user created objects also. So generics are a really helpful way to define such general functionality.
Okay. How would you design a generic method that can sort any type of list?
So I would write public, and in angular brackets I would write T, so that it returns a T type of object,
Mm-hmm.
and then the method name sort, and inside the braces I would write list of type T, and inside the method we would give the functionality of sorting,
Mm.
and then yeah, this is the way.
Yeah. Okay. So, have you heard about inner classes?
Yes, I have heard. So, inner classes are is a class within a class. Uh, I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
I've not like used it in an industrial scenario, but as a
Okay.
concept wise, I know.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. No worries. Moving ahead. How does garbage collection handle circular reference?
Circular reference. Okay. Um, Circular reference in the
Uh,
sense like one object is pointing to another
Yeah, yeah.
object, and another object is pointing to
Mm-hmm.
that first object,
Yes,
or it
correct.
can be a chain also. Uh, Garbage collection usually is done by the JVM, and it has a strategy called mark and sweep where it marks all the unused objects. So inside that, I'm not actually sure
Mm-hmm.
how like it handles particularly the circular references, but there can be some mechanism like it can identify that these objects are not being referenced or used anywhere in the program, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to have a look into it, like how it
Yeah, yeah,
actually
sure,
will
sure.
work. Yeah.
Okay, so how would you investigate and fix a memory leak in Java application?
So memory leak can happen in two, three ways. One is like we are using static variables. Second is like we are opening resources, but we are not
Mm-hmm.
closing the resources. And uh, yeah, these are some scenarios. So for static keywords, like only make very static variables, only make
Mm-hmm.
very necessary static variables. Unnecessarily, we should not have any static variables because it belongs to class, and all those variables will stay alive until the class is alive, even if the method is d- destructed. And
Mm-hmm.
for resources, it is an efficient way if we use try with resources blocks
Mm-hmm.
to open the resources within the try so that it automatically gets closes when uh, the try block gets executed. So these are few things that I can use to handle memory leaks.
Okay. Okay. Can you explain synchronization for thread safety?
So synchronization and thread safety are two major things when we deal in multi-threaded
Mm-hmm.
applications. So synchronization is like when multiple threads can access a particular method or a variable and make changes on that thread. So
Mm-hmm.
it reduces performance, but in case of multi-threaded where several processes are there, so we can have that. So
Mm-hmm.
there can be a scenario where read-write issues can occur in case of synchronization also. So for
Okay.
to resolve that issues, we can use volatile keyword for that. If we know that this particular variable can be read by multiple threads, so we can define that variable as a volatile variable. So what
Mm-hmm.
volatile does internally is that it informs that this particular variable can be read by multiple threads. So the value of that variable would not be read from the cache, it would be read from the main memory directly.
Okay.
So this is how it works.
Can a deadlock occur with a single thread?
Deadlock occur with a, I don't think so. For deadlock is a condition where one thread is waiting for another thread, and that second thread is waiting for first thread to yield. So I don't think so. Deadlock can occur with single thread.
There is one unusual scenario.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try to find it out.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so moving ahead, uh, mm, have you do you know about Java class loader?
Uh, Java class loader is basically a program inside JVM which helps to load the class.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we do compilation, the source code is converted
Mm-hmm.
into byte code and all those
Okay.
things. So class loader basically works there. So it has,
Okay.
I think, three components. I'm not able to recollect. I think bootstrap and two other things. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I'll have a look into it. So basically, the uh, main function of class loader is to load
Mm-hmm.
the class into the memory after
Okay.
compilation. Yeah.
Okay. So how, I mean, is it possible to unload a class in Java?
Possible to unload. Uh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I have not
Yeah, yeah.
encountered, but
It's fine, fine, fine. Okay. So, I mean, now actually, I will give you a coding question. Are you comfortable writing coding stuff in Java 8 Stream API?
yes, I'm comfortable.
Okay. So, yeah, share your screen and open any editor. The question is, yeah, first share, then I will share a question.
Okay. I hope the screen is visible.
Okay. So, yeah, is visible, and the question is, you are given a number n, and you have to find the sum of prime numbers from 1 to n by using Stream API.
I think like I'll try. I'll try.
Yeah, yeah.
So suppose we have n and then
Okay, so I mean, I think it's getting late. You can try this after this interview. Just now, write basic things like
Mhm.
write check prime method with the basic programming, and then you can call. I mean, don't write from Stream API. Just write how you are comfortable.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll write with streams. Thanks. Teacher stream. Stream dot range closed, and then inside this we can have starting as 0 and ending as n. And within this range, what we can do is dot filter, uh, and then we can make use of this logic. That is equal to this time. I could false if not one. So 1 is a factor of all numbers. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excluding 1. So from 2
Mm-hmm.
to square root of n, I'll iterate the loop, and then I'll
Mm-hmm.
check whether that number is divisible with any number. If it is divisible with any number, so
Mm-hmm.
it means it is not prime, it will return false, otherwise it will return true. So I'll make use of this check prime.
So
Check
I is less than square root of n or less than equal to square
equal
root
to,
of. Yeah.
correct. I should be less than equal to square root of n. Then I'll filter, then dot, since we have to create some, yeah, then shall I run this?
Yeah, yeah.
18.
18. What should be
I'll
2 plus 5 plus
2 plus 3 plus 5 plus
7?
7 plus, yeah, that's it, till 10.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 5, 5,
17.
17 should be there. Okay, still 18. Think range if I'll do from 2. Yeah,
Okay.
so from
Uh,
2 to n we'll find.
right. Take n is equal to 13.
N is equal
Now should be 30. Answer should be 30. No,
to,
11 is also a prime number, right?
yes,
11.
11. So
41. Yeah, it's correct. Okay. Yeah, it is fine. And just there is one there. I mean, this program may have one optimization. Optimization is nothing. Just you can write this check prime method with using stream API or something like that. I mean, whole program should be uh, through stream API only.
okay, I got it. So, since predicate we'll have to give here, no? So inside
Mm-hmm.
that, in kind of a lambda expression, we can
Yeah, yeah,
then
lambda
return.
expression.
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you can then share your screen now.
Sure.